Blackcoat's Daughter, a tense horror film that snares you into its dreamlike web and keeps a hold of you long after the house lights have gone up. It is a surreal piece of art that manages to indirectly reference many real stories while also paying homage to the moody horror films that came before it. When you begin to pull apart the puzzle pieces of true stories, creepy mysteries, and urban legends that make up the haunting narrative of the Blackcoat's Daughter, you realize that desolate winter world of two teenage girls alone in a school dormitory isn't so far off from where you live right now. Don't worry. If you're trying to avoid spoilers about this incredible, secretive film, you won't find them here. You may find a primer for a deeper understanding of one of the most inventive nail-biters of 2016. While The Blackcoat's Daughter is a wholly original film featuring twists that don't even register as twists until you're lying awake at night, going over the scenes of the film for the 15th time. It owes a great deal to Roman Polanski and to a few haunting legends that can be found across the planet, as well as to real stories of teenagers being absolute monsters. While it's not likely that every story on here informed Oz Perkins while writing and directing his debut film, it's undeniable that some of these myths, legends, and mysteries made their way into the fabric of the film. For your viewing pleasure tonight, I bring you 15 myths, legends, mysteries, and true stories behind the Blackcoat's Daughter. So close the blinds, dim those lights, cuddle under your favorite blanket, and let's begin. Number 1. This Rosemary's Baby reference might be a spoiler. One of the most obvious influences on the Blackcoat's Daughter is Roman Polanski's satanic masterpiece, Rosemary's Baby. In fact, the boarding school that the girls attend is called Bramford, which shares a name with the snazzy apartment building that acts as a backdrop to all the spooky shenanigans in the 1968 film. Number 2. Nearly 100 school children had contagious visions in Peru. In Peru, a group of almost 100 school children became possessed by a demonic spirit that made them foam at the mouth, have seizures, and feel as if they were being followed by a shadow man. An anonymous 13-year-old girl told the media several children from different classrooms fainted at the same time. I got nauseous and started vomiting. I heard voices. A man in black chased me and wanted to touch me. Number 3. 22 schoolgirls suffered demonic possession after playing a risky game. What's up with all these mass demonic possessions in South America? While playing a game of Charlie Charlie, basically a type of magic 8-ball with pencils, a group of 22 girls between the ages of 12 and 15 allegedly became possessed by a demonic spirit that had them foaming at the mouth and talking about a man dressed in black who had something interesting to say. One of the girls recalls her vision of the man in black. There was a man dressed in black, and he said that a child had the sheet with red letters, and if he burned the sheet We will kill them all. So, whatever you do, don't burn the sheet. Number 4. Boarding school is a nightmare. From J.D. Salinger to the Smiths, popular culture is filled with stories of boarding school being the worst. Whether it's a school for boys or for girls, there are bullies, awful teachers, and evil headmasters. It doesn't take a genius to realize that stories of emotional torment at boarding school feed into the horror of the Blackcoat's daughter. Number 5. A Catholic priest molested young women for decades. In 2009, a Catholic priest in Oakland, Michigan, was forced to resign from his position at the Guardian Angels Catholic Church in Clawson, where he had been allegedly molesting young women since the 1970s. Then the same priest, Reverend Kenneth Kochek, was later appointed as a director of a teen pregnancy center. Number 6. Black magic made a group of possessed nuns go mad. In 17th century France, Urbain Grandier went on trial for using black magic to infect nuns with a variety of spirits and demons in London, especially the demons Osmodeus and Zebully were forced into the nuns when Grandier threw a bouquet of roses over the convent walls. During the trial and its many exorcisms, nuns were known to bark, complain of illicit dreams, and make sexual advances toward the priests. Number 7. Teachers try to burn a young girl for being a witch. If you're going to be a witch, or have witch-like tendencies, it's probably safest to do it somewhere no one's going to try and set you on fire for listening to Stevie Nicks. A 17-year-old in Nairobi claims that some of her teachers tried to burn her in order to force her to admit that she worshipped Satan. Number 8. A student stabbed his teacher to death. In 2014, a 15-year-old boy in Leeds, England, winked at his fellow students just before he stabbed their teacher in the back and neck with a large kitchen knife. When the 5'2" woman tried to escape, the 6'2" menace chased her around the room and continued to brutally attack the woman until she gave up. After he menaced the teacher, the boy sat back at his desk and said to the class, "Good times." Number 9. A woman received mysterious phone calls from the devil. In 2013, a woman in Colorado claimed that a caller with the number 1-666-666-6666 phoned her repeatedly, each time leaving the message that she had missed a call from Satan. If that wasn't spooky enough, she then received 48 text messages from different numbers, all of them containing one word: Satan. Number 10. Shadow people watch you in your sleep. What are shadow people? Are they actual beings, or figments of our imagination. People from all walks of life have reportedly witnessed shadowy beings watching while they sleep, or just hanging around in a fancy hat. More than likely, a shadow person is nothing more than a shared psychological fear that still exists in our lizard brain and squeaks out from time to time. Or maybe it's a tumor. Number 11. A familiar spirit named Uncle Ponto nearly drove his victim to suicide. Uncle Ponto was essentially what you would refer to as a familiar, a spirit that hangs out around someone in order to make their life weirder / prep them for an eternity as a slave to Satan. In the book, Hostage to the Devil, Ponto clings unto a man named Jamesy and almost drives him to commit suicide. It's only after Jamesy seeks out a priest that he realizes he's being groomed by a malicious spirit. Aside from Ponto's ability to hang out with Jamesy constantly while remaining unseen, he also reports to a more powerful demon named Multus, who strongly resembles one of those pesky shadow people. Number 12. A baby was cut from a woman's body. In 2015, a woman in Longmont, Colorado, answered an ad for baby clothes. She had no idea that she was walking into a brutal trap laid by a true monster. When Michelle Wilkins arrived at the seller's home, she was attacked, beaten, and cut open, and her fetus was removed. The baby died shortly thereafter. After the attack, Wilkins hid in the basement of one of the surrounding homes and called 911. The police officer that responded to the call remembers the crime scene was painted in blood, and he was surprised that Wilkins survived. She is the only reason why she's alive right now. Number 13. Dozens of children were tortured and died at the Dozer School for Boys. At the Dozer School for Boys in the Florida Panhandle, there was no guarantees that you would make it off the grounds alive. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, dozens of teens received torture, ranging from lashes with a belt to dog maulings, and even one vague story of a boy being shoved into a giant electric dryer. Records show 50 other boys also died at the school, with no indication of where most of them were buried. Number 14. An Oregon hitchhiker slit a driver's throat. A hitchhiker outside of Pilot Rock, Oregon, was charged with attempted murder after she cut the throat of a motorist that offered to give her a ride to a children's hospital outside of Pendleton. What's more, she did all of this in front of the driver's 4 kids, who were sitting in the back seat of the car. Luckily, the motorist was able to wrestle the knife out of her hand before he could bleed out. Number 15. Teenage girls are a nightmare. In 2015, Kaylin Candy and Cheyenne Powell kidnapped a 14-year-old girl on her way to school and tortured her for 17 hours by holding a knife to her throat and making her strip while filming the entire thing on their phones. As the two older girls forced the 14-year-old to get naked and sit in cold bath water, they were egged on by two older guys who showed up in time to watch Kaylin and Cheyenne pour salt down the 14-year-old's throat. After being forced to shoplift noodles for the girls, the 14-year-old was able to escape and go to the police. Alright, my lovely lilies, thank you so much for watching the new video. If you can, hit that subscribe and like button, comment below and tell me your thoughts. Also, don't forget to tap the little notification bell so you're always in the know on this channel. As well, guys, you can always find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and always you can hit me up in my emails. Feel free to send me your stories, whether they're fiction or totally true. I'm always up for some great stories. And oh, by the way, until next time, sweet dreams.